Hello, and thank you for joining me for another episode of the Finish More Music podcast. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by a DJ who I'm a huge fan of, Cassy. Not only a great DJ, but also an epic producer. Has got music out on some of my favourite labels, House Music, for example, Uzuri and Bass Culture. And she's done mixes, DJ mixes for the likes of Fabric, Panorama Bar. So super excited to dig into your creative process. Thanks for joining us on the show, Cassy. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and like this introduction really sounds so important.
You contributed so much, which is amazing, and we're gonna sort of dig into that on our journey through this session. But what I really love to start on is what your day-to-day looks like. If someone was to sort of be looking over your shoulder in a day in music, whether it's studio, preparing for gigs, what sort of things are you doing on a day-to-day basis? What's important to you? May even be like self-care routines and things that keep you at the top of your game personally as well.
Yeah, this is a very interesting question because my life has changed completely, and I've really kind of taken a long break, so I don't have a routine right now. And I wish I would have, in a way, because at the same time, you're not gigging, so you have more time to yourself. But I was with my son and my 85-year-old mother, and I was just basically the caretaker of the family, which was really nice. I got to spend a lot of time with my son because I was traveling and I always had to pay for nannies and people helped me take care of him. And so that was always extremely hectic. So my daily life was just like logistics and being a mom and trying to check as much music as possible, and then preparing when I can go to the studio and work on music. And also because I finished basically my own studio, I moved away from Berlin, and where I had my studio in my living room. And it was this conscious decision of, okay, so I will not have a studio because I don't know where I'm going to be settling down and I'm not going to be living anywhere. And I was also not ready to just work on a laptop because I was still in love with machines and thought that that's what I have to do. So I just went and worked with people together, or I used sound engineers. And and obviously people that had the same love for the machines and were using the same machines that I was using, or other ones that I couldn't use and got to use. So I got to work with a friend for many years who is just extremely nerdy and is just amazing to work with, because he would explain all the stuff I never got with the machines that he was using. And I could bring my 808 and I could bring my machines my little Yamaha synth that I would always love to use, even though it's like not the most amazing thing, but I just love it. And so I could combine myself and his knowledge, and that was amazing to use or to work. So I would just go and prepare, I would say, like mentally, or think about what I would like to do or where I would like to go, and then would just go to Geneva and for 3, 4, 5 days, and tell my babysitter or my nanny or whoever was helping me, or a friend, okay, you have to help take care of my son. I just need these 3, 4 days where I'm just literally just in the studio. And that's how it worked out best for me too. Because I'm very bad at multitasking and I cannot do many things in one day. It's really terrible. People say women are good at multitasking. I am not. I am a very one, it's just, it can only be the one thing. So right now my son is starting school on Monday. So it's just everything for the beginning of the school, and then get the kitchen in order again because I was away on holiday with my son. This sounds a bit silly, but I just really have to be like, okay, household, son, music. And then I have to have at least half a day for music, because I need some time to get into it. I cannot just go, okay, so now I have an hour and search for the best tracks. I need to get in the mood, because I also need to find out what I'm looking for, you know. I just, it's hard for me to be on off, you know. So I need to.
So that's for your like listening to music that you put in your DJ sets, as well as for writing music. You like to have big kind of blocks of time.
Yes, yeah. Because then my mind is free and I have the calm or the right frame of mind, and I can just do something. Because I never, even when I had the studio in my house every day, I didn't like just switching on things and checking the program and whatever, because I'm just not interested in the program, or I'm not interested. I only get to learn to do things if I have to use it and apply it, you know. So, but this was great, because whenever I wanted to, like right now on holiday, I was a producer friend, an old producer friend from Berlin. I cannot mention his name. I would love to, because he said, "Oh, I just heard your house wax. Would you like to do some vocals?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yes, I want to." Of course, I'm super excited. And so I've had like 10 minutes or like an hour to listen to what he sent to me. And I had my sound card and my like live microphone, and I just went into, I only had a half an hour, which was annoying because we had to go for dinner. So then I just ran into my bedroom and I just wrote something down on notes of paper. I just used this, like whatever, any piece of paper I can find, write down a vocal, sing, and like was singing it into the live. And then, you know, just like somehow, just really super primitive. I have no sophisticated method. I will never be sophisticated when I'm using. It just has to. I just have to. It's just utility, you know.
That's great. I love that. And I think this is really important on a lot of different levels as well, because some people feel they have to wait for the perfect moment. I've got to have all the gear. I've got to know all the gear inside out. I've got to have the perfect setup. I have to have the perfect life and schedule dialed in. And of course, life isn't really like that. So to hear from somebody like yourself, who's, you know, put great records out there and had career as a DJ and all of these things, that you are able to do it. And in fact, it's for you, it sounds like it's more how your mind works as well, so it's even more suitable for you.
It's also that, you know, I have so much respect for all the people, especially when I look at their Instagram, and there's so many extremely talented producers, and I really don't feel like I'm on their level at all. I really don't feel like I will ever get there. And because you really do need to be in the studio every day for hours and hours and hours. And I also do not have the time, especially now as a mother. And I also, I mean, I prefer spending time with my son, or going to yoga, than just like studying a new program. You know, that's just not the kind of person I am. But I'm super into, like, if I want to get something done, or if I want to learn how to use it, I will do it. But that's because I want to finish the track, and to finish, you know, what I said before. So and this I can then only do if I am, you know, away from my daily life. And obviously I'm repeating myself right now. I actually wanted to say something else. Yes, so I see these people that are extremely sophisticated, and how they use the machines and how they've set up their studios. And the interesting thing for me was, quite early in the beginning, I was like, okay, I like machines and I like analog for sure. I prefer it because it's an easier way of making music, because you just have the machines and you have sound coming out of the machines, and the sound that's coming out of the machine is going to give you an idea, and you can just sing to it, or just use a kick drum, and that's also coming out of the machine. So if you just with the laptop, you have to create the sound, and it's not coming out of the machine, and that means I have to know much more what I want, and I have to be more specific, and I have to have a way more experience to just go. I don't know, that was my thinking. And I see a lot of people use live Ableton, and it just helps them create whatever, you know. And I was never like that, or maybe because live was quite at the beginning when I started producing, well, just about to come out. So I was using Logic, and I still have an easier time using Logic than using Ableton. And it's still very strange for me to use Ableton, which is weird. I don't know why. but so I want to really get good at Logic again, because now I'm just with my laptop, and I've decided after so many years and after not really being stationary so much, and just I want to be flexible. So I just want to use my laptop and then go into friends or people's or sound engineer studios and work out the sound, and also use people to mix the tracks. So with Housewax, after working in Berlin in the studio with Mark Hawkins, I went and contacted Stephen Barkin, who is amazing, who's obviously mixed so many like very famous house records, and I said to him, okay, you have to make this sound like more glitzy or more glamorous, because this is so, my music is always quite minimal and basic. And that's cool if you're just doing some underground, whatever. But I wanted it to sound a bit more glitzy because I wanted it to be more house, you know, or more posh sounding. And then like Stephen just understands what to do, and mixes it in a way that like brings out the layers of the sounds and the voices. The voices, because obviously I use my voices in layers also, and so that's really helpful, that you can find ways of making something sound a certain way that is outside of yourself, you know, or not just from your machine. So you don't have to be an amazing producer to produce good music. You just have to have the right ideas and be creative and be daring and ask the right people, and also be confident with your ideas as well, I guess.
I love this. So what I'm picking up is you're a very social person as well. So obviously you like traveling, and a big part of that is being able to put yourself out there and meet new people, and you have a lot of connections that you've built up in the industry. Would that be fair to say that that's a sort of an integral part of your journey?
Yes and no, because yes, I've worked with quite a few people, I would say, but I also haven't worked, like, you know, there were also many people it didn't work out to work with, and it's something also very intricate, you know, because it's a very intimate thing, and it's a very, you know, I'm confident as a DJ, but I'm not confident as a singer or a producer. So for me to go up to people that I admired for a really long time, or admired and loved the music of, and obviously they're like so much better than I am, it's like a really, you know, when I was working with King Brit to finish my album, it was really not easy to sit in the studio and then have professional musicians come in and play bits on my music. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is like really my music now. This is like totally, you know, it's come from it's come from my head, or it's come from my heart somehow. And then you get the people that make it come together, and then you're like, wow, and there's now a professional musician or an amazing musician just played a riff on the guitar and sent it to us, and we can just add it. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. How is that possible? So it was a very humbling experience, and I do still, I don't feel like I'm a producer, like a studio wizard, and I will never, you know, and I will never be one, and it's not my ambition. But I just you know, learn to work with what I've got, and to just make the best use of it, you know. And I guess what I've got is my voice and my ideas.
I love it. So if we can dive into that a little bit deeper. In fact, before we do, I know that you've collaborated with Demure as well, who we've had on the show, done masterclasses. I love the guy to pieces. How did your collaboration with Demure come about?
This is a very interesting question. I don't actually know because well, no, of course I know now. I know I loved his music when I first heard like this Derek Does Disco. Was it Derek Does Disco? Oh my God, because I'm so out of it. Like I've not, I think it's Derek Does Disco. There's like this music he did, and that was inspired by listening to a Derek Carter set. And those tracks were so amazing. I was like, wow, who is this producer? He's really amazing. So I kept telling him. And then I said, well, I want to start a label, and maybe I want to do collaborations, and maybe you want to do something together. And that's how it happened.
Awesome. So if we can just step back, you mentioned there that you kept telling him that you love his music. How did you make that connection?
Did I email him? I don't know. Because you know what? You're saying I'm social, because obviously I'm very social. I can be, but I'm not very, I don't, the guys are always like, yeah, and let's do this and that. And they're always talking about machines and things and stuff. And that's not me, and I'm not, I don't connect professionally with people. I connect socially with them, sometimes I do, but it's not, I don't know, I think it was just emailing and then maybe talking on the phone. And then maybe we met in Detroit one time, and he came up to me and said, yeah, I'm Demir here, and we finally meeting in person. And that was just really lovely. And then we just, stayed in contact. And then it was kind of easy to ask this question, because it was not just like, okay, let's work together. Oh, I would love to work together with you. We had a bit of communication. I felt confident enough to ask him.
I love it. Yeah. So, and this is what I'm hearing. I think this is a really valuable lesson for people as well, because a lot of people are quite shy to speak to anybody as a human being, because they see people who are their idols, or even you've mentioned, you look at other people and think, well, they're a much better producer than I am, maybe the technical side and the machine side. But your humanity and being able to approach people as a human and recognize that ultimately we all love what we do and we're creatives, and strip away all of the other things, and people just love talking and connecting. And some people maybe are a little bit standoffish and a little bit worried that they might be rejected, but you managed to build up really great personal connections and rapport with people. And then if that feels right, how about collaborating or working together?
Exactly. Because I had met Stephen Barkin, for example, years ago. And then I didn't realize he was Stephen Barkin, because I was always really so respectful. And this is the maybe even dichotomy. It's like, meeting your idols. First of all, I think idols are that's just so bad, that our society needs idols. We always need to, this like look up, and then whatever this person says and does is like, that's maybe cool when you're 13, 14, 15. But then, because whoever it is, Beyonce or whoever you are, like Christina Aguilera or whatever, that's cool. But I think as soon as you're grown up and you're like, obviously, there's so many people. I have extreme respect for their work ethics, for their music. But when I met them as in person, I was just not very impressed. Or I was just also like, not vibing, or maybe not liking what they were saying, and not liking how they are as a person, and or finding certain ways of, obviously also the business, a lot of people are guarded or have to protect themselves, had different experiences, different pasts, whatever, different personalities. And then I just learned very quickly, like, who cares if they like you, if you like them? None of that matters. I love their music, I respect the music, and the rest is best to not meet people in the end. It's always better to not meet your idols. Because it just, like, it sets you up for disappointment. But obviously you can meet an idol and he's also an amazing person, and then maybe it's all vibes and energy anyway. So I think from in my experience, the way I was like so super respectful of everyone, and I never thought that I could have Stephen Barker mix my music, and that I was important enough as a producer. But obviously it's also business, not saying that about him now, but you can approach people. It's a service. We're all in the service industry in the end, and you offer service, you pay for it, you get it. And obviously then, do they have time enough? Maybe they would prefer working with someone that they think is cooler than someone they don't really or love their music so much. Of course, this is all possible again. But yes, it took me years to approach Stephen Barker. And I remember I emailed him and went like, oh my God, yes, this would be so amazing if you, and already like my album, or even before, I could have already asked him, but I never dared to ask him, which is like really weird. And then I finally did, and he's like, yeah, just like, I'm here, just email me, message me.
So you built up quite a big thing in your mind, and then all of a sudden, when you actually took the action, it was just as easy as that in this instance.
And this is what we do. We like we build up things in our mind. It's also, oh, what do the other people? There's so many like DJs I was talking to, and like, I always thought you were thinking this of me and then of me, and I'm like, no. And like, why do we always think that this and that? And I mean, the scene is also quite toxic, not because people are bad, or it's just a very difficult dynamic that's sometimes working, because it's competition, it's certain trends, it's like social media, it's nightlife, it's drugs, it's just narcissism. It's like there's a lot of egomania and nonsense going on at the same time, which is like, can be like well explained, or can be justified, or can be extremely silly. And I think there's a lot of things that people build up in their mind that are actually not true.
Yeah, totally. And actually, sort of, when I twist things like that around, I always think that's quite a good thing, that there's all this stuff in the industry, because then when there are people like yourself, and I particularly reference Demir again because I think he's just such a wonderful person, you stand out. You're always going to be like, oh, have you met Cassy, have you met Demir? They're amazing people. And so in some respects it actually gives you an advantage, because you are somebody that people warm to. And I'm loving speaking to you now, for example, but it's very clear that all of these connections you've built are for a reason. And if you were narcissistic and ego driven, people would be less likely to want to work with you and do those things. So I think that's such a cool message. What I'd like to just quickly loop back to, which I said we would a little while ago, was just the creative process, in terms of, you mentioned that what you are bringing to the table, because you learn what you need to learn and you work with it, and it's your ideas and it's your voice. So how do you typically start a track?
Mm-hmm. So I would say I would typically start, I need a beat and I need a bass line. So you kind of have a key reference, or maybe a bit of a synth also for key reference, for then like to be able to build the track further. So you like singing in the right key. And sometimes that's also not necessary. Sometimes you can also like do a vocal that's weird, it doesn't really fit the key somehow and it sounds strange and it's still cool. But yes, I would say that's it. Like right now I was listening to where I just had to, I have to sing, and I was listening to this producer from Berlin, who I love, sent to me. He just sent me just a bass line and the drums, or the whole drum set, like kind of like the beginning of a track. Just basically a long loop, and maybe different parts, maybe 2 different parts. And then you just groove to it, sing to it, try to come up with something and then just use these vocal bits that sound the best, and you just loop them or you just put them in a different order, or yeah. And then obviously from then on you start building the track. Yeah. Again, if you're doing a song, it's different, because then you obviously you need like chorus and verse, and you need to be more already more organized, how you know, because you have the verse and you have the chorus, and maybe you have a bridge or something, so you need to be more, you know that this bit of music is with this chorus and the other bit of music is with the verse. So it's like you're not as open, you're quite organized from the beginning.
You've kind of got that arrangement already,
Yeah.
something that you have to work towards, whereas when you're
Yeah.
writing a house track or techno, for example, you're free to come up with the idea and decide what direction you
Whatever.
feel it will best take, for example, for the dance floor.
So this is also, this is what I loved about working on my early tracks, when it was just in my studio alone and had the hours to just, I would make a beat and some weird sound or noise, and would just have it running for, I think, like 3 or 4 or 5 hours, the same one. And if I didn't get annoyed and if I could get into it, I would just like, then sing to it, and maybe have another. It was just very not at all organized or not at all like arranged. I was just like singing, and then I was singing something else, and I was like, I think I'm going to sing something, and I'm going to sing another bit, and it was almost like the weirder it was, the more I liked it, because I thought, yes, why not? It's my music. I should be doing whatever I want with it, and just make it, which obviously was like strange for some people, and it's not the way you make tracks, and I get it. But it also really helped me understand more about what it is I want, or why I like the music. And I always thought, like, this is exactly why I liked house and techno when I was listening to music as a teenager, and even before. I think, like, obviously I started listening to music when I was like 3 or 4 or 5 years old, and I had my little turntable, my little beat. Is it a Beetle? Not a Beetle, like what's it called? The Ladybird turntable.
Oh, really?
And yeah, little Ladybird turntable. And then I got my little like sound system where you had everything all in one: the radio, the tape, and the vinyl on top. And I had these, and I always got, like, every 2 or 3 years I got a new one, because Christmas, because like it was so trashed and I needed better speakers. And the older I got, the better it was. Then it was just an amplifier, and it was a CD player, and it was an extra turntable, and maybe it was like a Yamaha or something, or Wharfdale speakers or something, when I was like older. And that was the best trip to the hi-fi shop with my dad. I was like always like really excited. So this was the build up. And I remember when I was listening to the music, I always liked certain passages, and I thought, wouldn't that be nice if I could just be listening to this little bit over and over and over again. And I remember thinking, when I was listening to Prince, I liked his music because it was kind of like the same thing over and over and over again. He was always like doing beats forever, and then maybe a little bit of a voice, and the beats forever again. A bit also like James Brown, who's like probably the person who really started house music, maybe even, because his musicians, they were like the DJ, because they would just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on with the same beat bass line. I mean, obviously this music has been so ripped and sampled. So I guess this is something that I enjoyed about starting to make my own beats, was like, I can just do and listen to bits I really like and like and like, which is obviously boring to some people.
Oh no, I mean I love it. I've written down here, it's my music. I should do whatever I want with it. I think that's a brilliant quote. But it's so funny, isn't it? How you're mentioning sort of the very first, the Ladybird kind of record player, and that immediately got me to thinking sort of way back when I lived with my parents, and again this built-in vinyl sort of old belt drive thing with a built-in cassette tape, and that was where I first started scratching on this. That, you know, I had no crossfader or anything, but that was, I heard the DJs doing what I wanted to do, and I was like, how do I use this big clunky thing? And it goes back to using what you have. It's like a very small Yamaha drum machine that one of my skateboarder friends left at my house, and I knew nothing about writing tracks at the time, but plugged it in with a set of headphones and figured it out. And I was, some of the most joyous times writing music and creating things were just in that little world with that piece of gear, trying to get it to do something and responding to the way that it behaved. So I mean, that was a really nice trip down memory lane. I was listening to you going, oh wow, yeah, because that sort of brings back so much for me as well. So when you've done the track, is it at a stage where you go, right, that's fully arranged now, and now I'll go and like work with the mix engineer? Or do you then go, because my ears pricked up when you said about having, you know, musicians playing over some of your tracks. At what stage do you typically start to get other people involved if it's a solo production and not a collaboration?
When it's for my album, it was where I got, like with King, it was where I got people involved, because it was like more like not like a pop album, but it was more also songs and like slower tracks, and I wanted to have a variety of things. That is kind of like an old-fashioned album, which I guess a lot of people don't really do anymore that are in the club world, like I am in the club music world, because obviously some of the people that make more like downbeat stuff, they're obviously musician producers and sell the music to a different world. But the people that listen to my music are probably more people that, you know, go to clubs and know me from DJing. So that was also a bit like risky, because, you know, this was definitely not music. And I think when you invite musicians, obviously you can invite musicians for house tracks that like Louis Vega does, or, you know, where they're really super deep housey, where you can have a guitar playing, or you can, you know, you can have musicians playing and really use them as they are, and use their bits of music and uncut and just like as pure as possible. I think then it makes sense to also use musicians, but you don't really need a musician as such to play his amazing style, a thing he can do, and then like cut it up and chop it here and chop it there, because then obviously you can just like do it yourself and chop around, you know. So I would only do it, like invite musicians, if it was like for an elaborate project like my first album. My second album, which is not really an album because it's 2 releases on Housewax. It was an album, but then I was like, okay, no, I don't know, it doesn't feel right to release it as an album. I was supposed to release it somewhere, and then that fell through, and then you know, COVID happened and everything changed, and I was just like, I'm not going to release it now, and I'm going to release it when I find someone that feels right to me. So I chopped it up into two EPs, and the second one is going to come out later this year, I think, or maybe even next year, I'm not sure. And I also, this is another interesting, I also don't really care when it comes out, because this is, I like to make music. I'm jumping and I'm just like, blah, 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 sorry.
No, it's great. I love it.
So I like to make music that I also like, when I make it and when it's released, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not gonna change. It's gonna be the same, and it's gonna have the same impact, or not like big or small or whatever. I think my music is quite timeless, and I don't say this because, oh my God, I'm so amazing with music. It's timeless. I'm just saying this because I'm not doing anything special, you know. I'm not doing anything groundbreaking. So, you know, this is why it's timeless, I guess.
Well, and also you mentioned not feeling that you had to conform to the latest trends. I think you said earlier as well, which again is very much and I'll read it again because I love it, it's my music, I should do whatever I want with it. that means that if it's not designed to have to be of the moment, it's okay if it can come out a little bit later because it came from your heart as opposed to being boxed in too heavily by trying to be something for a specific moment.
Yeah, this is something even as a DJ, and obviously because you know, the business is quite harsh, and the agents and the managers, they have to sell you and present you, and you have to be something, and you have to obviously be okay with being boxed to a certain degree. And especially now, having had a break of maybe even thinking about, do I even want to continue doing this? Do I want to release music anymore? Do I even want to be a DJ anymore? Like, what is it to me? Why, you know, why do I want to continue doing this? It's like, it's also really like annoying at times. And and then I'm like, you know what, now after this break, I just feel like even more than ever, um I'm just, I'm lucky if people want to come to my gigs, be it 5 or be it 5,000. You know, obviously when it's 5,000, you make more money. Less people, you make less money, and that's also a thing. You know, when you're like touring a lot, and when you're like a famous DJ and going around the world, it's hard to be an amazing producer at the same time, because you just like constantly on the road, and you also maybe have a family or a relationship, uh or your health, for example, a very important thing to take care of. And you have to be so disciplined and really just work hard, and something's got to give then, you know, if you're, and especially, you know, I'm a woman, so I'm taking care of my son. Maybe if I was a guy and I didn't need to be with my children the whole time, because the mother is more with the children, you know, depending also on your husband, what arrangement you have, but what age they are. Obviously, your husband can stay home, that's fine. But when you're having a baby, it's just like, you know, the husband is not going to breastfeed your baby. So that's just like nature. So we do, you know, we have to also, you know, life is not just your profession, it's also it's your persona and who you are, and something's got to give at some point somewhere. You know, you cannot have everything at the same time. You can maybe have everything, but maybe first this and then 10 years later the other thing. And I was just thinking now in this break, so maybe this is now time for me to be more of a producer, or make more music, or get more into what I really, you know, maybe more singing again. And and this is why I also thought, okay, I'm now old enough, experienced enough to maybe just work with a laptop. And this was the interesting thing, that the people who are my go-to people that I can ask questions about production, and I like to ask them, are the people that are very experienced as producers in different fields of music also, because they're usually the ones that go like, yeah, laptop, you don't need anything, just please just don't buy a machine, just don't waste your money, you know, almost like that, because they've done and seen it all, you know, and they know that you can do amazing things just with a laptop, you know.
Totally, yeah.
It just depends on your creative input, and build a mixing desk from scratch, or ordering it and how he ordered it. Or I mean, I didn't watch him building it from scratch, but it was interesting talking to him, because I had bought a mixer that he had worked with, but then he rebuilt it himself and stuff. And then when I was seeing when I was seeing these things, when I was seeing how these people operate, you know, in the studio, I was like, okay, if I want to be a studio buff and really focus on my studio, I have to learn more about the actual, also like how you make certain things, because it gives you so much ideas for creation as well, you know. And I would have also then gone like, okay, I'm going to have someone make a mixer for me. And like my ex-husband had a mixer made by the same guy that Mark, I think, and like Toby Neumann had the same one. There were a bunch of people having their mixing desk made by this guy in Nordrhein-Westfalen in Germany. which was like fascinating to watch, and them asking what was important for them and what they needed of a mixer. And then obviously my ex-husband was sound engineer for Frank Farian, this famous German producer, for like 17 years or 18 years. And the way he works in the studio and what he does and what he thinks is key and important, and how he makes certain things sound is just is so incredible, that it teaches you a lot about what's really important, what's not important. And every single time I saw, or like King Brit, I mean, he could just be with a laptop and he just has a musician come in, and he, I think he could like record a whole orchestra in as a producer, maybe even as a sound engineer, but I'm like, as a producer, he could like do an album for, it doesn't matter who, what, So this is like where when I see these people operate, or Mark Anestis, then obviously doing African music and doing this and that, but also his style and how they have arranged their studio and how they work, you're like, okay, that's another fucking level, That's something that is really, I mean, it's almost like, if you cannot do it that way, don't even fucking try, just do your own thing. I will never be like this. I also don't have the patience to build my own mixer, unless maybe if I'm not touring and I have my son is old enough and I can just spend days and hours just not worrying about anything else.
Yeah, totally. And you might find that you really love the laptop, or you might find that you still want some of your machines because it will be, what you feel you can express yourself and what gives you the most joy as well in the creative process, which are super important things. One thing you said that I'd love to just dig a little bit deeper into is you mentioned about having these thoughts around, should I carry on? Should I give up on the music path? And some of the stuff is super annoying. And obviously you were talking about, having a lot to juggle and a lot of things on. Is there anything else that you find annoying? And what is it that swayed your decision? What's the really important factor for you that made you decide to carry on?
I think the important factor to carry on is to just not give a fuck. Because if I would go like, oh yeah, the scene needs to happen, I'm just like not someone of the victim mentality, I just don't believe in victimhood, and I know many horrible things have happened to many people, including me, and obviously the horrible things, that what is horrible is like, or what is traumatic for someone, that could be anything, and it could be really devastating circumstances, and like, we all live life and we have horrible things or life happening to us, and how we go about it and how we go and flow with it is completely and entirely up to us. We're always victims to ourselves. Obviously, this is not, I do not want to excuse bad behavior of people. I do not want to excuse, inexcusable things that people can do to each other. Obviously, that's not what I'm saying, but sometimes you like see, you're on YouTube and you see these like videos, these like ads that are like kind of charity ads for something, and then you see like an 8-year-old girl talking to her mommy, and she has leukemia and she's lying in the hospital, and you're like, some people have dealt or have cards dealt that are so fucking heavy, and they can still do the best with what they have. And I think certain things, be it, I don't know if you believe in God or not, or nature or the universe or the higher self, or even if you're an atheist, some circumstances or certain things just make or break you, and I think it's always best not to be broken and not to let yourself be broken, and to see the best, and be optimistic. And obviously there's so many things I hate about the music business, and I really fucking hate it. And And yeah, I will not be able to change it because, you know, human beings are human beings, human nature and greed and whatever. And we all, you know, I'm no angel. No one is an angel. Uh, uh, Apart from angels, maybe. I don't know. I mean, obviously there's people that behave worse than other people. But I just thought, like, if I would like give up or not continue because so many things annoy me, then I would have also just like fallen victim to just negativity that is like of my own construction in the end also, because I could maybe also just focus on what's really cool about the scene and and get on with it, you know.
Yeah, I love that, and it's true. We don't have to like the way that things are, but it's important to understand the way that things are, and then to respond and show up accordingly. And as you said, if you're come with a view of optimism and gratitude for the things that are good and that are right, and focus on those things and keep moving forward, that's going to be a much more fruitful and productive way to approach something you love than if you sit and complain and whinge and moan, which we all do from time to time. Things
Yes,
get on
which is
us.
also
That's
important. You know,
yeah,
you have to get
that's
out.
life. But if you
Yeah.
sit doing that for a long time, complaining, you've lost. There's nobody who sits there just complaining and moaning about anything makes any real meaningful progress. So yeah, I love that. I think that's great. I'd love to touch on your DJing as well, because obviously you've played all over the world, like been played at some amazing parties, had some epic residencies and all of these things. What's been your favorite? Hard question, I know, but what is your favorite? And what, maybe it's not hard, maybe you're going to go, oh, that's easy, it's this one. But
You know what? This is again. I feel so removed from the whole from DJing right now, and I had 2 3 gigs, and obviously, like, I always wanted to be a respected and a good DJ. I never wanted to be a famous DJ, actually, which I thought was weird when I was, you know, it depends on how you word it. And I wanted to be very good at DJing. And it was just something that I just had set my mind on. And I thought, like, the more different gigs I can play, the better I will be able to hone my skill, you know. And and that's what I did. And that's what I was like really just mainly focused on that. And I was happy to have all these different varieties of like festivals and clubs and underground and after hours and all of that as an experience as a DJ. But it almost feels like it's in the past. So right now, I really don't know what kind of a DJ I am. And I really don't know what kind of a DJ I want to be. It's not, and the scene is also just very, you know, it doesn't really exist right now, or it does. I mean, also we had this crisis and it's there. And I can see there's a lot of people that are kind of pretending nothing really happened. And let's just all go back to things as it was. And obviously, I don't think that's really possible. But obviously, I think we have to build things new. You know, we have to be positive, we have to be optimistic. And it's nice to see the photographs and the festivals and the people being so happy that they can party again. So that's amazing. Um, I just still think that there is a lot to do for DJs because, you know, DJing today is being good at social media and getting the right agent, and you don't even have to like be able to like mix well, you know. and and you can be a festival DJ and play at festivals, and that's fine. And a lot of the people that are now famous festival DJs, they've been DJing for years and years and years in clubs before anyway. But I just find it sad that the club life and the club DJ has lost a bit of its importance, and that you know, resident DJs and warm up DJs and the whole system of DJing has changed or lost its way a bit. And because I don't really like, I don't know, I just feel like I don't really fit in anywhere. But maybe I also don't really want to fit in anywhere, you know. And I don't know, it's like what I've seen all these different levels of DJing, and I've seen the super famous DJs and played with them, or like played like I've kind of seen it all. That it's not that it's lost its magic. There's nothing better than like DJing for people that get it and they get what you're trying to say, and then you can say even more and share this energy, and you take people on a journey, and it takes off, and you create something in a DJ set that you didn't even know was possible. You know, obviously this is amazing, this is magic, and this will always be magic. I will always love that. And but like before, I was like, I want to hone my skills, I want to play here, I want to play there, I want to see how they do it, these people do it, what, you know, it's kind of lost. It's like I don't, you know, I don't need to prove anything to anyone. And I also have proven with DJing, I have proven a lot to myself even, you know. And then I realized, oops, okay, this wait a minute, I thought I was going to be like way more fulfilled, and I'm not, you know. So maybe for some people that's a completely different journey, maybe, you know. I just realized I'm not the person that finds fulfillment in their job and in their vocation or calling. Is this my vocation or calling? It's like the more you go around the world, the more you do, the less fulfilled you will be by it, unless you're just really super just into partying and like hanging with people and going on private planes and stuff. If that's what you're really into and you love it, then good for you. This is perfect. This is a perfect job for you. If that's not really giving you all that fulfillment, you know, then it's like, it's really hard to find a balance, because you really have to be super disciplined to take care of yourself and to also be happy next to it, because it's really, it does burn you out. It's really exhausting. It's really not as easy and cool and fun as it looks, you know. And obviously you're extremely fortunate, and like I don't think any of the DJs would complain. I mean, yes, the DJs complain about certain things, but I don't think they're complaining about, oh, it's so hard to be a famous DJ. I'm sure they're very happy being famous DJs, you know what I mean. But I really don't know, you know, Cassy DJ and Cassy person is maybe even, you know, maybe there's Cassy DJ, maybe there's Catherine, the person, the mom, the person that is looking just for more meaning in life as well, you know. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's great to touch people, and that's the most important thing.
And so do you feel that you're gonna carry on doing that, but perhaps trying to trim out some of the parts of DJing that you don't enjoy at the moment? What's your plan going forward?
Yeah, I think that was the plan. Like all this time off really gave me the opportunity to understand that I don't have to do all these things. And if I don't set the direction, and if I just feel obliged to do this because as a working, jobbing DJ, as a DJ pro, as a DJ, service industry DJ, you know, just industry DJ, you just have to put up with shit, you know, and you just have to do it. And I was like, nah, but what if that doesn't make me happy? Then I'm just going to continue, like, you know, that's not how it should be.
Yeah, I love it. So it's very much like the things that fulfill you, the things that motivate you, and the things that light you up are more important than the extrinsic things, such as the fame and the, you know, the glamour and all of those things. Whilst that's cool and it's great and some people thrive on it, throughout your journey you've discovered that there are other things that are more fulfilling and important to you, and so you would sacrifice some of the extrinsic stuff in order to be true to yourself and to live a more fulfilled life. Is that a fair way of putting it?
Yes, but like the way you're putting it, it sounds like, oh, it's, and you know, you're putting, yeah, this is like too kind, almost, the way you're putting it.
Okay.
Like, yeah, yes, in a way, because obviously I'm not a superficial person, and I can like walk up to anyone and have the deepest conversation in 2 seconds, you know. I fucking hate small talk. I can do it if it's fun banter and it's jokes, but I cannot care less about small talk. And obviously I'm also a very polite person. I mean, a lot of people probably say I'm not so polite, but anyway, I can be a very polite person. I do understand small talk and things that you have to do in order to, you know, be a civil person. And it was not so conscious and like not like a conscious decision. It was just more like basically me kind of watching myself. Why did I just do this? Or why did I not go there? Or why did I not join this agency? Or why did I not? I was always doing things that I was like, oh, that's probably not good for my career right now. Or maybe that's not what I should be doing. And I just kept doing things without really understanding why. And then I analyzed, oh yeah, because I really felt uncomfortable, or it really like made me feel uneasy to be around certain people, to be in certain situations. So I did it. I was just like following my instinct maybe. And that didn't feel so glamorous or so cool or so like deep or like spiritual, or, you know, it was just like more, I just felt really like out of place and odd, and like couldn't really understand my decisions, and couldn't really make, you know, what you call it, hand or feet, no, foot or leg, or what, how do you?
I don't know, you got me.
Is that a German expression? Sometimes I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, I couldn't, head or tail, I couldn't make head or tail.
Couldn't make head nor tail. I gotcha.
Yeah, head nor tail, yeah, exactly. So sorry, foot or leg, head or tail.
Heads or tails, yeah.
So it just eventually, now looking back, I'm like, ooh, okay. And then I remember this like pivotal moment, and I keep telling people, when I was in my hotel room in Tokyo by myself, I was on tour for like 3 months, really around the world by myself. And I have to be very honest, I love traveling by myself. I like being by myself. A lot of people don't, and I actually really love it. And it's also made me feel like, I don't think I ever felt lonely, but I felt quite alone in the sense that, you know, I don't know. I don't know what I want or who I am, but this is not who I am. That, you know, people see
what's happening right now,
whatever.
yeah.
You know, you're also playing the clown, and you're giving people, and also sometimes you're taking the piss and just acting a role and taking the piss out of people. Also, you know, it depends how what kind of a character you have. But I really just felt at one point I was like, nah, I just need something more real. I remember it was in my hotel room in Tokyo. I was like, no, I want something real in my life. And that's just nothing that I'm experiencing is real enough. I mean, my want to be a really good DJ is real, and obviously there's many lovely people I've met, and the experiences I had with them were real and wonderful. But I just needed something more. And then like 2 weeks later, I was pregnant, unintended, obviously. And that really changed my life. And obviously then again, you know, it's hard. Like, I had to pack all my things. I had to pack all my records. I had to put it all in storage. I had to pack all my machines. I had to put it all in storage. And I'm like, okay, my artistic side is going to suffer immensely from this, you know, but all I can do right now is just keep on being a professional DJ and keep on loving mixing records, you know. And this is something I will always love. My favorite thing about DJing is mixing the track into the next track and into the next track and into the next track, and seeing the people's reaction when you start mixing the track. And I think that's just what is fucking killer and amazing about DJing, you know.
Love it.
Difference.
Yeah, totally. So I think I've got a good handle on this now, because you'd mentioned before about all the things that are annoying and the things that make you want to carry on, and now it feels like a lot of those things are stacked up in what you've been saying about the playing a role that you're not necessarily totally comfortable with, but just because of the situation you're in, that's the way you've got to behave. Things have changed in the scene, the social media, a lot of the small talk and all of those things as well. And you've mentioned as well some of the people that you don't like in the scene, you know, that you're going to keep bumping into people who are challenging. And that goes, of course, from other artists through to promoters and
also
challenging business people.
You know, it's also, I can also be the challenging
and you
person.
can be the difficult person, right?
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, the bits that you love is this idea of the magic of DJing, connecting with people who get what you're trying to say, people's reactions, and then just the core fundamental thing of loving mixing tracks into other tracks. Yeah. Got it. So I'm totally with you now. I'd love to just dig one little bit deeper on this, which is, obviously you've been a DJ for a long time and the scene has changed a lot. How do you feel it has changed over the years for people who are DJs, who are people who want to be DJs now? Because I obviously know from my experience, and you hinted at this with the idea that DJs don't necessarily have to be great DJs to be DJs now. And that sort of happened quite a long time ago, where production started to become more important, and you know, promoters putting it on certainly up and coming DJs of whoever could bring the most friends with them got the gigs. And of course it's important to promote it, but when you're first starting out, you could be a significantly better DJ than a lot of other people. But if DJ X has created a record, or DJ Y has just got the biggest circle of friends, all of your hard work and skills and talent might never even get onto the stage. And I think that happened quite a long time ago and has been progressing. But I wonder what your thoughts are on that, and just the other things that you've seen being so deeply connected and engrossed in that world.
You know, it's very interesting, because on the one hand, there is obviously this part of me, or a reaction of people that you can see, that I also would react when I see certain DJs and I'm like, wow, they should be famous or more famous. They should be playing a lot more. And then at the same time, I'm like, no, because they're playing the gigs that they are playing and want to play and are cool for them. So they don't have, you know, it's like, not everyone has to be famous. You know, you can also be a jobbing DJ. You can also be a jobbing actor. It's like, you know, a few are movie stars and the rest are all actors. And there's like many actors that are jobbing actors and have a good living and enjoy what they're doing, maybe even more than being a movie star, where you just, you know, it's unpleasant. You know, there's like people that have been resident DJs in the best clubs, playing with the best DJs all the time, that have extreme experience, knowledge, and are super good DJs, and are still jobbing and DJing, you know. And that's what I always find, or found amazing, these people, these DJs that are extremely good, are extremely experienced, have played in the best clubs, have had residencies in some clubs forever. Or when I was starting out DJing, the first times I went to Berlin, I mean, the resident DJs in the clubs and the people that I heard and the parties and after hours were amazing. You know, maybe I didn't like all the records they were playing, but you know, you knew not to mind, because you knew that they were bringing the energy and they got what their job was, you know, and they were there, and everyone was playing records, and it was for hours, and people had time, you know. People had time in Berlin to go out, because first of all, it was cheap and we were all like young and no one had to be anywhere 2 or 3 days on, you know. You had time to hang for 3 days and listen to people play records. I mean, no one goes or used to work in Berlin, you know. So obviously this is exceptional. You had the time to listen to DJs play 8-hour set, and then another 8 hours the other one, and another 8 hours the other one, and maybe then you went to the after hours, you know. So this is unfortunately not going on so much anymore. But then again, I don't know the underground scene in Berlin, for example, so much. It probably is to a certain degree, or is in ways anyway. And this is how people really learn to DJ, is by playing in the same place over and over again, you know. And then obviously you learn to DJ if you also go around the world and you have to master a setup that you don't know, and da. That's then the professional industry DJ knows how to do that. And this is something when I obviously like the people like Carl Cox and people like Laurent Garnier that did this 20, 30 years ago already. You could see them when they arrive in different clubs, how they master the setup and the situation. And or Sven Feth, for example, you know, this is like super interesting to watch these DJ or my favorite DJ like Danny Howells. I mean, when you see these people just being behind the decks and what they do and how they relate to the crowd and how they pick the tracks and how they build the set, it's unbelievable. Or Danny Tenaglia, etc. I mean, obviously so many more, but yeah, this is something where I'm like, how, you know, experience really makes the DJ. And how should these like young, super famous, super like blah, blah, blah DJs all of a sudden, you know, that are thrown into the limelight and are big and get the biggest fees and have hardly had any experience. Of course they cannot be that good. It's impossible. It's virtually impossible. And that's sometimes really frustrating also, because, you know, you hear them play in a club or a festival, which a festival is probably like cool because that's, that kind of works. And the energy's there and the people are so happy to listen to them anyway. But this is sometimes frustrating that that the clubs are forced to book certain people and that the clubs are only full if certain people come. And then when the residents are there and the locals are there, the club is not full. But maybe that would even be the better night, you know. And so I was hoping that for all scenes all around the world, it would be good if the local scene can be strong again, you know, the local DJs would learn to DJ again, because it's nice if you have a club and a resident DJ and you can like, okay, this week I'm going to invite Marcel Detman, so I need to have the best warm-up DJ for Marcel Detman. Is it her, him, or her? You have 3 or 4 that you can pick, and then you have Louis Vega, and then you need the best, you know, maybe it's even the same person that can do it, you know, because they have a range of music they can play, and so on and so on. So I think this is something that really needs to happen again more, because that's what DJing is about. It's like setting the mood and like and preparing people for a long night, you know, and making them come for the music and not just for the stars, you know.
Yeah, I like that. I love the idea of nurturing local scenes. And you mentioned the it's a bit of a reset now after the COVID, and you know, we're starting to navigate our way out the other side. There is potentially the possibility for a little bit of a more of a focus on that for people who want to start trying to bring that scene, because everyone wants to get out and party and go to clubs. So it could be a really nice way to light the touch paper. And I am a firm believer, despite all of the different challenges as a scene moves, it is the people who adapt, and the cream does rise to the top if you really are invested in what you do. And I also believe that the more adversity and challenges that come up is the more opportunities for somebody to look at where they need to grow and develop themselves in order to navigate that to get heard.
Yes, absolutely. I cannot agree more. This is also what I've just realized for myself. It's like, you know, obviously this is a very challenging time for me, and like any other DJ, like any other promoter, tour manager, anyone, whatever level you are, how famous or how long you've been doing it, or etc., it's all very challenging. And I think we just all have to be brave enough to not just be like scared all the time, to not get enough or be enough, you know. We just have to fucking chill out a bit more and not fall prey to all these like nasty dynamics anymore. I mean, obviously more easily said than done, but it's just, I get it. It's like it's everything that's successful and makes a lot of money for a lot of people is obviously turning into an industry, and that's just always connected to certain energies and you know, there's things that cannot be avoided, but at the same time we have to nurture the root of it all. You know, we cannot just like pull out the whole tree and just like hack it up, chop it up, and then like sell it all. It's like we need to plant more trees, no?
Yeah, totally. And that's, I think that's a great message, because that excites me as well, because that's back where I started. My roots were going to these very underground parties and small little venues and things like that, and it was all about the experience and the culture that was being built at the time, and being a part of something was as important as who exactly is on the lineup. There's like, oh, there's a cool party here, let's go and check that out and be involved in it. So I love the idea of nurturing and bringing that back, as well as people taking these opportunities and looking at ways to grow so they can take advantage of any, as you put it, I think it's great, roots that are getting planted and new trees that are springing up. So I love to end sort of an interview with a piece of advice that you would give. And I think we've covered such a broad spectrum here, from the production and the DJing and where it was and where it is now. If you were to give somebody a piece of advice, let's say it was you starting out again, what would you give as your main piece of advice to somebody now who, whether it's they want to be a producer or a DJ, you can pick whatever you, or both, whatever you feel is most apt? What would be like the golden nugget, the thing that you would wish that you would know if you started out now?
That's very interesting, because I do ask myself the thing, like, would I do this again? And I actually now think I would just tell myself to be even not to compromise so much, just be way more really in what it really is you like doing, and really focusing on it, and not thinking, you know, you're not good enough, and making choices that you know makes you prove things, or thinking you need to, and also to not take things personally, because yeah, it's also the nightlife, you know, and it's a very strange, odd business, and people, obviously there's a limit to bad behavior. There's bad behavior that cannot be excused, and there's bad behavior that's just, you know, whatever. But just to not take things so seriously, and to not take things so personally, because I mean, how can you take them so seriously? You know, how can you, like, if you look at the state of people they're in nightlife sometimes during the night, and then like, and yourself including, you know, it's like when you're drunk and you end up snogging someone you wouldn't have, you know, when you wouldn't have been drinking, you know, that's like, okay, yeah, you know, just to not take things so seriously, and not be so like, oh my god, like, be, you know, so touched by so many things, just like fucking let things go, and just fucking,
yeah,
you know.
I love that. I love the notion of letting things go. I think that's so important, because we can't control what triggers us and what brings negative emotions to us. We're human beings and we react to things, but we can control whether we prolong those and hold on to them and let them drag out and bring us down over an extended period of time.
Absolutely. And this is what I see with people over and over again, because this is also really contributes to bad, or to toxicity and like weird energies between all of us, you know.
Yeah, totally. I like that. I think that's a really kind of positive message to leave things on as well. This idea of knowing that there's great stuff in the scene. There's also bad stuff. There's opportunity mixed with difficulty and challenges, and to adapt and to let things go, and to not take things personally, to ride out the challenges so that you can enjoy more of the good stuff and the what got you into
Absolutely.
it and the buzz in the first place.
And also to like, just to also be willing to like look at yourself and learn for yourself and be willing to also be vulnerable to make the right changes for yourself, to also go like, okay, what is unhealthy? Have I taken too many drugs? Have I been drinking too much? Do I work out enough? Is my diet healthy? What people do I end up hanging out with or sleeping with or talking to? Why? We have to be able to like face our own shit as well.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's awesome. So you mentioned obviously you have some new music coming out, might be this year, might be next year. What else is on the horizon for you? I know you're going to tackle the laptop. What's the immediate future bringing, and is there any more? Are there any DJ gigs, anything that's coming up that people can look forward to?
Yes, actually now I have I'm playing in Paris next weekend. I don't know when this podcast will be online, but I have on the 11th of September, I'm in Paris, and then 18th, 17th and 18th and 24th and 25th of September, I'm in the US. And
Nice.
yeah, I'm playing 2 festivals. Yes, in one weekend, one in Delaware, Firefly, a new festival, which I'm very excited about because I I I know some names on the lineup and their bands, and I'm like not sure if other people are also DJs, and I'm not sure why I'm there. I feel really honored that you picked me because it's like not my regular scene, so I'm a bit excited and nervous about this. And then also Crossed Festival in San Diego, which I love, and I'll be playing back to back with Dennis Ferrer, which will be super fun.
Nice.
When I play with him or when I hang out with him, it's just really funny and amazing. And yes, also I'm playing a higher ground party at Brooklyn Mirage. It's like the Diplo higher ground parties, and I'm playing with Francesco Lombardo and DJ Tennis. I'm forgetting other names on the lineup. I'm very sorry if I do. And then also I'm playing in Tampa, Florida. And Tampa is like a very well-known house and techno, hardcore, underground place in the US. It's like one of those places you have to always go and play. And that will also be really fun. Yeah, so that's September now. So I'm lucky to have these gigs now.
Brilliant, super cool. So you're getting out. People are going to be able to hear you. Yeah, this episode will be out quite quickly, actually. So the people will hear this prior to those gigs. So it's great that getting that out. And obviously you've got music coming up as well. It's been awesome talking to you. Thank you. It's been a really wonderful journey, and you've been so authentic and candid as well in sharing the good stuff, the challenging stuff, your own personal difficulties and journey. I think it's fascinating for people to hear that, but also there's a lot to learn as well from other people's journeys and what to look out for, things that will be challenging, and it's not all a bed of roses. There is some difficult things to get through. So I want to extend a massive thank you for being so candid. It's been wonderful.
Pleasure. Yeah, very, very lovely talking to you.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much. And I'd be keen once this, you sort of come through the other side of this and you're going to be DJing and exploring with your laptop. And I think there'll be a wonderful opportunity for a future conversation to see how the next season and stage goes in your career. So I'd absolutely love to tap you up in the future, and we'll get an update on this.
That. Yes, that would be wonderful. Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Well, it's lovely talking to you. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.